This has been an extraordinary year. 2020 will go down in history. Hardly any aspect of daily life has been untouched by COVID-19. So why are we here today beginning a public campaign to free Ananda Sangha of Washington of its mortgage and loans? Why? Because we were born for this moment. Paramahansa Yogananda came to the West 100 years ago at the behest of an extraordinary line of God-realized saints, avatars one and all. For the divine eye sees not only the past and the present, but the future as well. The needs of humanity on planet Earth at this time are great. Never in recorded history has humanity been so connected. Never in history have we stood together on the brink of chaos. Paramahansa Yogananda declared that in this new age into which we are thrust, spiritual seekers would gradually come to understand that self-realization, meaning a direct and personal perception of God, is the goal of life. Ananda is a vibrant and creative channel for this awakening, which he called a new dispensation. No longer can beliefs and rituals, which all too often divide us, suffice to satisfy the hearts of sensitive souls. Though our divine lineage tells us that humanity has embarked upon an ascending arc of expanding awareness, changes in mass consciousness are not automatic. Momentous change requires the assistance of spiritual midwives, guiding the tumultuous travails of the birth into higher consciousness. This is our moment to position the work of these masters here in Western Washington on a secure footing. In this 1 year alone, 2020, humanity has had to respond rapidly to the pressing demands placed upon us by a worldwide pandemic. Ananda, too, has had to quickly adapt and change. We have had to learn new skills. Some days, the sanctuary and yoga hall are more like a movie set. We have unwittingly become movie producers, directors, script writers, camera operators, post-production editors, sound and lighting technicians, and gaffers to boot. Our teachers, too, have created mini studios at home using only a cell phone for a camera. This need and opportunity to stand in readiness for change will not end anytime soon. That's why we feel the pressing need to remove the burden of fixed monthly loan payments so we can serve free and clear. This freedom will allow more devotees to participate in new and creative forms of service. There is now the new normal, change. It's curious, isn't it? 1 year ago, the internet was here, Zoom was here, entry-level broadcast technology was here. In fact, we had already been planning to move spiritual sharing and classes online this year during 2020. But beginning in March, Divine Mother evidently thought we were moving way too slowly. It's not been easy, however. Class income has dropped over 40%. Ongoing donations for support have been impacted. Thankfully, some heroic gifts have been made to keep us afloat. In the crush of it all, we asked our member lenders if we could suspend loan payments through the end of this year. Their patient generosity, while greatly appreciated, is necessarily short-lived. Fortunately, we secured an SBA loan, so far we're still here. But we must now think longer term. And this is our opportunity to position this divine work to be sustainable amidst the crash of breaking worlds. And you know, we haven't been entirely caught flat-footed. 8 years ago, at the urging of Swami Kriyananda, we pooled resources and purchased land for what is now the Ananda Farm on Camano Island. Ananda Farm has evolved into a yoga ashram and exemplifies beautifully Yogananda's counsel to pool your resources, buy land in the country, build simple homes, and grow your own food. This year, East West, at the end of its long-term lease and closed by COVID decree, relocated into the Ananda Community Meditation Temple, which itself had already been vacated owing to COVID restrictions. East West is emerging week by week into new directions and new forms, focusing on online programs and selling books and products through online affiliate relationships. The Ananda Thrift Store, too, has closed its doors, but is seeking new ways to recycle donated used goods for the benefit of children programs and at the same time for the benefit of the material needs of others. We move now to an excerpt of a talk by Swami Kriyananda, Ananda's founder and direct disciple trained by Paramahansa Yogananda. The occasion for his talk was the public dedication of this Blue Lotus temple. It was June 2007. It was at that time my privilege to introduce Swamiji, and I invited the audience, quoting Jesus Christ, to receive a prophet in the name of a prophet and thus receive a prophet's blessing. Swamiji, as we call him, speaks of the universal, timeless, yet incomparably timely teachings of self-realization. Following advice that Yogananda once received, Swamiji encouraged us to idealize our teachings in architecture. In his talk, he expresses hope that a temple of light would someday be built at Ananda village. Just 1 year ago, that dream has come true. Let us secure the foundation of this sacred work so that the mission of Babaji Christ and the great masters of this path may grow and blossom like a lotus, reaching up from the mud of confusion and chaos into the great light of God. After Swamiji speaks, we'll be blessed by these speakers whose lives are dedicated to the service of this great work.
It's my honor to be here, and I'm very glad. This day is, of course, especially a celebration, but it's also good for us to think of what it is that we're celebrating. Not only the construction of this perfectly beautiful temple, but also the expression in architecture of a teaching which I believe is greatly needed today. Yogananda used to say, immortalize this teaching in architecture. And this building here today is the fruition of that. I would like to build this same temple, a copy of it in India, if you'll come and help us. And at Ananda Village in California. And I would like to get people from both places building with each other. People from America going to India, people from India helping to come here as a means of helping to express the ideal of the unity of these two countries. Yogananda said that someday India and America would unite to lead the world. I don't think he meant politically, but ideally. America represents the how to improve spirit, the new age spirit, you might say. India represents the ancient tradition. And when Riman said that India used to be one of the most wealthy, I would go further than that. You know that Marco Polo, when he went there in the 13th century, said that it is the most prosperous country in the world. It's a very interesting thing. If that, not that long ago, India was even then so prosperous, then England came, England became wealthy and India became poor. There one suspects a sort of a cause-effect relationship there. When you see the jewels from the Taj Mahal and the English crown and so on. Anyway, we won't wound. But India is the most ancient culture. All the old cultures have died except India. Egypt, China has undergone great changes, but all the great cultures, India has remained alive, vibrant, and still wise because she believed in Sanatana Dharma. Now, what is Sanatana Dharma? It is not Hinduism. Most people in India think that's the name for Hinduism. Yes, it is, but it's also the right name for Christianity. It's the right name for Buddhism. It's the right name for truth. Because Sanatana Dharma means the eternal religion. And that religion must be the same religion on the most distant planet in the most distant galaxy in this universe. There can only be one truth. And the essence of Sanatana Dharma is that God, in order to create the universe, had nothing to create it out of. He could only evolve it out of his own consciousness. He had to dream it. We might say, but this doesn't look like consciousness. No, it doesn't. But if you think of it this way, that consciousness, just as when you dreamed last night, in fact, 2 nights ago, I was dreaming that it was raining. I could actually see the rain and the puddles dropping down. Yet it wasn't real. And so we can evolve things with mind force into dreams. But if we had more power, we could evolve those dreams into energy. And everything science has proved is actually a vibration of energy. Now, how can that be? If you look at a tuning fork, you see it moving back and forth, it looks like there's a certain amount of material between those two extremes of that tuning fork. If you look at a propeller of an airplane, it looks like, if it's going fast, it looks like a dish, doesn't it? So you can see that vibrations, an infinite number of vibrations, can produce the illusion of reality, of solid matter. But science itself declares something that otherwise would sound preposterous, that it is just vibrations of energy. Energy is a vibration of thoughts. Thought is a vibration of consciousness. And this being the case, the entire universe was evolved out of that infinite consciousness. The idea of a God, which Christians usually think of as an old man with a long white beard, well, he's a lot older than that. I could have a white beard, no problem. The thing is that it's an infinite consciousness out of which everything has evolved. Everything is that consciousness. This is what the Jewish statement is. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And that one, the Jews themselves don't quite understand. You know, people accuse Hindus of being idol worship. That's not true. They're ideal worshipers. That's different. All these different gods are just representations of ideals. But they're in the Sanatana Dharma, which is what they teach in India too. In that Sanatana Dharma, the reality is that God is everything. And our duty is to merge back into that. One of the ancient things that Yogananda mentioned in Autobiography of a Yogi is that God's consciousness is center everywhere, circumference nowhere. Each person is a center, but each person has a circumference. If we could get rid of that circumference of self-definitions, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm an American, I'm an Indian, I'm a Frenchman, whatever. I like this kind of cheese, and I like that kind of bread, and I like doing this, and I like to do that. All of these self-definitions, if we could get rid of that circumference, there is no difference between me and you. We're all one. Now, this is the purpose of this truth of this philosophy and the purpose of this temple. You know, I had this idea for a temple back in 1961. It was in Delhi. I wanted to create a temple like that, and I was meditating on what would be the best form for the kind of temple that would express our philosophy. And it occurred to me that a flat ceiling sort of seems almost to press on your head, whereas a dome seems to reflect back to you the same kind of energies that go out. Now, this may seem fanciful, but you know, it was very interesting that I was in the Morrison Planetarium in San Francisco many years ago, waiting for a show of some sort of stellar thing. And just at the last moment, it seemed, suddenly a whole bunch of school children, 5, 6, 7-year-old, came and all gathered around me, and I was sitting there feeling so peaceful, and suddenly all this jittering and chattering, and they were all restless, and I was thinking of moving when I noticed that one by one, each of these children was becoming quiet. There was something in the effect of a dome that made them that way. There was no program going on that yet, but that rounded ceiling seemed to be, to my mind, the effect that created that calmness. Now, we're living in an age of energy now. Energy seems to be the hallmark of our age. And the thought of the energy, in fact, I read an article quite recently that the shape of a ceiling has an effect on the kind of work that you do. There is energy. You can't see energy, you can't taste it or touch it, but it's something real, and we're becoming more and more aware of energy, vibrations, these things. Temples give that effect, and I think this is a perfect shape. I wanted to build a temple like that in New Delhi. I actually got Nehru's permission, but I was vetoed by my own organization, who were horrified that I would do something so new. Best thing that ever happened to me was when they threw me out on my ear, because I've been able to build this work. And you all wouldn't be here if it weren't for that fact, so I'm grateful. I've been able to understand and to express without having to worry about what a board of directors tells me I may and may not express, the truth that God is one, that Yogananda was a great soul, but you can't be greater than the absolute. All great masters and saints are the same. You can't say this in organizations, but we don't have an organization. We're a group of individuals who come together because we believe in the same things. All our communities are places, each one of them is autonomous, so that we won't get this megalith of a thing ordained and ordered from some big center. And our belief is self-realization. Each one of you must define what these teachings are, because the teachings begin from the center of each one of you outward. The wonderful thing about this teaching is its individuality. But the other wonderful thing about that individuality is understanding that everybody is our brother and sister in God.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be able to participate in this wonderful event to help pay off your debt. You know, the temple and the complex there and all the work that you're doing in Seattle is so important, and it's helping so many people. We want to talk just briefly about the spread of Master's work. You know, Master came and he was one individual, and he had tremendous energy, but he had to overcome tremendous inertia. And he had to face the discrimination of America. He had to face the cultural differences. Of course, he was a great soul and a great avatar. And so he had the intuition and God's power behind him. But nonetheless, it was one person and one life. And so from the beginning of his mission here in America in 1920 to when he passed in 1952, it was 32 years. And that's not a very long time to change the world. But fortunately, like a stone dropped into water, as those ripples spread, that original stone, that original wave only goes out so far. But then the next generation takes it out farther. And so the next generation for us is Swami. And he has been able to take Master's work and be able to spread it farther than Master was able to. We're reaching through Ananda now many millions of people. And that's more than Master was able to reach during his lifetime. But the principle here is that each generation spreads the work farther. And as we begin to spread the work, I think that it's important that we all be not only traditional but creative. As Master said to Swami, work like lightning but don't change a word, when he was editing, and when Swami was editing Master's work. And what Swami came to understand was he had to change the words, but he didn't want to change the concepts. And so it is with all of us. Swamiji kept absolutely true and orthodox to the concepts that Master brought, and he would not change those at all. He would not change the basic teachings, but his mode of expression of those teachings was always creative. How can you write 150 books without a font of creativity in what you're expressing? But always those books expressed the essence of Master's message and what his teachings were. And so now Swami has passed on, obviously, and the next wave out, next circle out, is all of us. And so we have to do our part, and joyfully, we're blessed in this life to be able to have a part to play in this mission from God that's destined to change the world. What a wonderful opportunity in our life. So we all have to do our part. Each one of us has to be creative with whatever the realm is that we have been given to do. And if we combine all of our efforts, then, and stay in tune with Master, then that wave gets broader and broader and broader until at this point it really has encompassed the whole world. Master's work, Ananda's work, Swami's work has become a global work. And I can just feel how absolutely pleased they are that this work has not only died or diminished, but has gained in power, has gained in magnetism as it spreads around the world. And you all have created that center of the work, center of light there in Seattle. And we're very, very happy to participate in this event and to congratulate you on doing your part in this great work. God bless you all.
Hello, everyone. I also want to say how happy I am to be with all of you, all of our dear friends and Guru Bhais in Seattle. And we've always felt a very close connection, in part because we have a dear friendship with Nayaswamis Hariman and Padma, but also we've spent many weeks up there over time, some of the times with Swamiji, some of the times without, but we have a close connection with all of you. We were there in 2007 when the beautiful Blue Lotus Temple was dedicated. Swamiji was there, and what a beautiful, beautiful event that was. We were there in 2015 when the Fellowship Hall was dedicated, and it's just, we've watched the work grow and expand in Seattle over the years and decades that you've all been there. Swami's way of expressing Master's vision came about in two ways. One was, one might say, the core teachings, the path of Kriya Yoga, all of the subheadings under that, relationships, leadership, education, art, and so forth. But also, Swamiji captured the way that Master worked. And that for all of Ananda has been an incredible blessing, because he worked with great expansive awareness, but very practical and grounded, and then with deep, deep interest and concern for the spiritual well-being of the individuals. And that's what we've seen happen in Seattle. There's been this wonderful expansive energy over time with your new temple, Fellowship Hall, the community emerging on Camino Island, your new online bookstore, many your outreach classes and teacher training programs, wonderful expansion. But today we're talking about how we can make this grounded. So we need to not carry a lot of debt load. We need to be able to move forward into perhaps an uncertain future with solid financial backing, standing. So we're not worried about, oh, how are we going to pay off this debt and that debt? And then also with deep, deep interest in the welfare of the individual. What can this person do that will help them? What will help them grow? And giving everyone something to do, inclusive and embracing. And so as you move forward in building Seattle in the spirit of Swami, who drew his inspiration and guidance from Master, all of the above, we see you doing that, and you'll continue doing it in the future. And Ananda can be such a wonderful, wonderful lighthouse. The Blue Lotus Temple, sitting as it does there on the top of the hill, is a beacon of light for people who are looking for hope and meaning and strength and support and everything else you do. So we just are so very, very grateful to see how the work has grown and developed in Seattle, and also very impressed with how you all have supported it and made it possible to continue to serve people everywhere in the Pacific Northwest in Master and Swamiji's name. So Jyotisha and I wish you the best of luck in your undertaking, and we hope that in this fundraising campaign and in everything you do, you may find grand, grand success. And the highest of all success is to feel God's presence within your own heart, in your own consciousness, and in everything you do.
Hello, friends. It's a joy to greet you at this very special time of Master's 100th year anniversary of coming to America. He came to spread the message of the great masters of India and the message of how to live, how to be happy, how to bring God into one's daily life. Swamiji took the torch from Master. He went throughout America, throughout Europe, now in India and in other countries to spread the teachings of how to be happy, how to be successful, how to bring God into one's daily life. As Swamiji founded communities, centers, meditation groups, he wrote 150 books, 400 pieces of music, all to reach out, and all his lectures that he did with everyone. Now is our time to continue to keep that flame burning in our temples, in our centers, in our meditation groups, to bring people God's blessings, to bring people into the light. God bless you.
All we are stewards of what our masters have given us, like links in a very long chain, because what they started here, they wanted to go a long way. But we're not just here to maintain that chain. At least our hope is that we strengthen that chain, we grow that chain, that the power that the masters have put into motion not just continues, but it grows and grows and grows. And that's in everything we do, in everything we've created, everything we've built. It is our job to make it last.
In the same way that Christ and Babaji are leading this work together as a team In the same way, we need to make sure we unite more often to serve together and meditate together and magnetize and increase that vibration that comes through the masters, through each one of us to this work, and making sure that over the years we will keep doing this together.
Buongiorno from Ananda Assisi. Paramahansa Yogananda said, immortalize your ideals in architecture. When Swami Kriyananda saw this Temple of Light in 1996, he remarked how beautifully it expressed the ideals of self-realization and the characteristics of Dwapara Yuga: upward, soaring energy, light, space, openness, harmony, and simplicity. He said, let's build these temples in all of our centers. Ananda Seattle was the first to heed his words, using the architectural plans from this temple and transporting it to Seattle. Years later, Temple of Light was built at Ananda Village in California. These temples are centers of spiritual power and peace. They are destinations for pilgrims from around the world, and they are lighthouses that show the way to a brighter future.
Swami Kriyananda taught us to say yes to life, and this attitude became of paramount importance for Ananda LA when the pandemic hit. We had to close our 3 centers and pivot very quickly to find a new solution for both Crystal Clarity and Ananda LA. And our dear friend Frank exemplified this say yes to life spirit with a new phrase. He said, by all means, we will find a way. And we were all drawn into Frank's indefatigable spirit, that spirit of Swamiji, of saying yes to life. And lo and behold, we did. We found a beautiful new space for Crystal Clarity and for Ananda LA. So this is one of the secrets to abundance, to openness, to that infinite consciousness of God, to say yes to life, to say by all and any means, we will find a way together, united. We are and we stand for God alone.
Paramahansa Yogananda, the great father of yoga in the West and the shining light of India, 100 years ago brought to this country the beautiful spirit and ideals of self-realization and direct communion with God through Kriya Yoga. And he brought us the teaching of unity, of East and West, of harmony and unity between all religions. This is our opportunity and our hope for a better world, and to offer as a gift to the world a model for a better way to live, so that every contribution, the smallest kindness, and the greatest offerings of friendship, of all that we can offer in this spirit, will be the greatest gift that we can offer ourselves to the world and to one another for a very bright future, my friends.
I had the great pleasure of working a little bit on the Blue Lotus Temple in its fundraising beginnings many, many years ago, and then on the Temple of Light at Ananda Village. These are 2 of 3 very beautiful, meaningful temples for Ananda's work around the world, and they really are uniquely grounding rods in their beautiful architecture, capturing the vibration of what Paramahansa Yogananda has brought into the world in this time, in this place. These teachings of self-realization, how to work with energy, the deeper meaning of how to connect to God within ourselves. it's manifested through these temples. They are really there to help bring us together and bring that energy forward. And so it is so important as we move into this time of great social change, global change on really every level, that we strengthen those grounding rods, that we call all of our energy together to complete the temples, these 3 temples, and then others in the future, I'm sure, but this temple needs to be free and clear so that it can be continuously a free and clear channel for that energy coming down to earth that Yogananda has brought.
A huge part of Paramhansa Yogananda's mission in the world was to share the universality of all religions, that each spiritual path takes us to the same place, self-realization. For over 30 years, Ananda's East-West Bookshop has served the Puget Sound area as a place where spiritual seekers can find support. And now, more than ever, we could use your support in this free and clear campaign. Thank you.
Paramahansa Yogananda taught us to go inward to experience God, and yet he built many temples during his lifetime. Why is this? Because we seek fellowship with God through meditation, but it's just as important to seek fellowship with other truth seekers. Yogananda used to say that the company we keep is more important than willpower. So coming together with other devotees brightens our inner light and helps us to rise above doubts and distractions. This is why temples are built as a place for satsang and as a physical expression of the principles of simple living and high thinking. Temples are also symbolic of the human body itself. The beautiful dome of the Blue Lotus Temple is symbolic of the higher energy center within us, known as Sahasrara, the 1,000-petaled lotus. So meditating under this dome takes us inward more quickly. So in these times of deep divisions and a great pandemic, let's come together and make this temple free and clear so that it can be a beacon of inspiration and an oasis of harmony and a place which dissolves the differences among us.
Hello. We would first like to express our gratitude for the temple and for everyone that has helped in creating the temple, everyone who has sustained it, everyone who has come to the temple and made it their spiritual home and place of worship, and especially for Raymond and Padma who have, wrapped themselves around it for so many years. I know it's been a place of deep meaning for both of us.
And when we start to recognize that gratitude that Haley was talking about as the real foundation for our relationship to the temple and what we've been given, and we find a very natural relationship to develop that is our own willingness to become stewards, to take active responsibility for this temple and actually what it represents, the spirit that it has come to represent. And that's, of course, not religious dogma or sectarianism. It's the universal spirit that's all-pervasive in life and our own path inwards to realize our oneness with it. And that, of course, is what the temple represents. And so the question becomes, what is the temple for me? And how do I help to steward that both in myself and as an actual space, an actual temple of light in this world? And so, of course, the most obvious thing that occurs to me in this moment is that I would like to meditate there a little bit more when I look into the future, and to bring that sacredness inside of myself into that space. And of course, the other aspect that's just as important is that we choose to steward it in the practical ways that can ensure that it's going to be there for right now, for future generations, and for all of us. And this is the choice we're given right now.
The Blue Lotus Temple and Yoga Hall operate with God as the engine and hundreds of participants as the hands and feet who serve all who come.
This small staff wants to thank you for offering selfless service. You are the astral spine for all that takes place here at the Blue Lotus Temple, the Yoga Hall, and online.
And to those who donate to make these precious universal teachings available to thousands now and millions in the future.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nayaswami Padma, and along with my husband, Nayaswami Riemann, we are, you might say, stewards of this beautiful temple with many of you. I'm here to talk briefly about where we stand now with the donation effort. But before I do, I can't help but mention how heartwarming it was to see Swami Kriyananda give that excerpt of his dedication talk here in this beautiful temple back in 2007. There were over 600 people present for that event. 300 or so in this room, and the other 300 in a large tent we rented on the grounds. We didn't even have the yoga hall yet back then. We had many honored speakers that day, and it brings me back to this program and how grateful we are to the many ambassadors of self-realization from all around the world who spoke in support of our efforts here today. Our hearts go out to you. Thank you so much for your participation, and a special shout out to Nayaswami's Jyotish and Devi Novak, who are extremely busy but took the time to offer us their talks as well. You know, Riemann and I thought, even before 2020 began, that this should be the year when we pay off the loans. And then the year began, and not more than 2 months into it, COVID struck. And we thought, oh my gosh, are we too late? You know? And we weren't quite sure how it would go. And then we realized we had to move forward for all the reasons that Riemann described. And so we started by putting a toe into the water. And instantly, it's as if Divine Mother just sent the river Ganga storming through. All the doors opened. And everyone we spoke with individually, people who have supported this work in the past generously, everyone stood up and said, yes, I will give. And the amounts that they gave just were so awe-inspiring to us. So you see, we had to get out of the way. And we realized we really had to get out of the way when we've started seeing since then gifts coming in from people all around the world, people we don't know, because they want to support these places of light, and they want to secure these places of light into the future. So where do we stand today? Well, I want to start by telling you, not everybody knows, that we were given a match grant of $108,000 for the next $108,000 worth of donations that come in. So they automatically double, which is just amazing. Get out of the way again. Here comes Divine Mother. It's pretty brilliant of her, you know. So I have to look down at these numbers. They're so big I can't memorize them. We're trying to raise $1.11 million to pay off these loans. The detail are on the Free and Clear page on our website. To date, to this very moment, we have raised $661,000 of that, which is about 60% of what we're trying to raise. It's a miracle, really. What remains is $449,000 for us to try to raise, will raise. We can do this. And we're going to do it. We're going to keep going until we're done. Swami Kriyananda used to tease me about perseverance because I'd never give up on things. So we're going to persevere all the way until this is paid off and finished. The sooner the better. And I wanted to show you over here, Louise will follow along, we created this puzzle out of a beautiful image of the temple that has a rainbow above it, but you can't see that yet because those puzzle pieces aren't in yet. The puzzle has 48 pieces, and each piece is worth $23,125. So with the amount we've reached already, we were able to put 28 puzzle pieces into the puzzle to get us started. Now notice here in the middle, we're leaving the cupola open. Those are going to be the last two pieces of this puzzle that we finish. So every Sunday at Sunday service, we're going to keep showing this puzzle and we're going to keep adding pieces as enough donations come in to do so. Keep in mind that we have this match gift. So every time $10,000 comes in, it's really $20,000 in relation to a puzzle piece. So we're going to move forward and try to complete the 20 remaining pieces of this puzzle in order to complete the goal of paying back all the loans we're trying to pay back. So what remains after putting these 28 pieces on is a little bit left over. $10,084 more is needed in order to be able to have the $23,000 to put on the next puzzle piece, number 29. And because of the match, that means only $5,042. So it's just not going to be that hard if we all put our hearts and minds together on this. Now I'd like to invite Nayaswami Nivritti to come up for a moment. Nivritti is one of the founding members of Ananda here in Washington, and her incredible dedication and generosity are no small part of why we're standing here today and why she is so incredibly suited to be the one who works with the donors. So if you have questions or you want someone to talk with, she's your person to contact here at the Sangha office. And she's showing the Free and Clear donation card, which appears on the website as a link. And I wanted to show it because I wanted to tell you just very quickly the many different ways in which people have given already to this campaign, and they're quite varied. Besides checks made out to ASMT, Ananda Seattle Mandir Trust, which is a tax-deductible donation for folks, that saves in bank fees, but you can also just use a credit card or PayPal online if you wish. Stocks, bonds, and mutual funds give the extra benefit that you don't pay tax on the gains. Real estate, some people have actually donated their interest in the Ananda Linwood community or in the farm, but there may be other real estate as well that you may want to consider. Loan forgiveness, if you're one of the people who's got a loan to this organization and you're willing to forgive part or all, quite a bit of the income that we've received towards this campaign has been in that form. Gold, silver, and other valuables. If you've been pledging monthly to the building fund and you're willing to roll those over and continue, that would be another way, or you could break up your gift in segments. And finally, savings, IRAs, 401ks, we've gotten those as well, and there would not be necessarily penalties involved. So I just say all of this so that you know that there are many ways in which you can give to this campaign. And our hearts are full of gratitude to everyone who has participated in any way, whether it's donations, whether it's service, to this incredible beacon of light, this place, these universal teachings. Swami Kriyananda used to enjoy telling a story about an old man who was dying. On his deathbed, his 6 sons were standing around him. And he asked the one nearest to him to go out and get a stick. And when he came back in, he asked him to snap and break that stick, which he did easily. And then he told all the 6 sons to go out and get a stick. And when they came back in, he had the one nearest to him put them all together, all 6 sticks. And he said, now try to break it. And he couldn't. And then the next one tried, and the next, and none of them could break it. There was too much strength. And of course, the moral of that story is that when we work together, when we serve together harmoniously, then we are stronger than we are if we are doing it only alone. And so, in the words of Swami Kriyananda, the song, Many Hands Make a Miracle, will come next by the Ananda Farm Family Singers. Many hands make a miracle.
Many hands make a miracle. Let's all join hands together. Life on earth is so wonderful when people laugh and dance and struggle as friends, and all their dreams achieve their ends. Many hands make a miracle. People climbing together. Soon we reach to the pinnacle of every mountain peak we hazard as one. We'll lift our hands to welcome the sun. Many hands make a miracle. Let's all